Hey, it's Brock here with Uncommon Aquatics, and today we're going to talk about dealing with ick. And this is not something that I just wanted to talk about or I wanted to make a video about. The situation is I just set up my dream aquarium. I got it cycled and ready. I had just a couple small fish in there. I've been wanting a tank like this my whole life. I've been keeping fish my whole life, and I've never been able to have a big tank like this. I finally get ready. It's the day to add fish. I travel a ways out to a store that's got the fish I want, and I handpick these fish. And I actually went to a couple different stores, and I bring them home and I get them put in the tank. And the next day I look, and one of those fish has a couple of white spots. And we all know white spots are a bad sign. That's ick. And that set me on a journey of what is the best treatment for this. Now, I had 4 fish in there when I cycled the tank, and then that day I added 6 more fish. And none of these are just cheap little fish. There are a couple of Danios in there that were part of cycling it, but everything else that's in here, there are I think 11 fish total. All the rest of them are $15, $20, $30 fish that get big and are going to be my showpiece fish for this aquarium. And so, of course, I don't want to lose them. Plus, you get attached. You want to take the best care of these animals that you can. So, let me tell you what I've went through the process of dealing with this ick. So, it's been 20 years since I had a fish with ick. And at the time, I just went to the store, threw some medicine in there. The fish died. That was a long time ago. That's the only experience I have with it. So when I got ick in this aquarium, now we have all these resources and all this information on the internet. And when I first saw it, I said, I'm not even sure. That could just be some little grains of sand. It was just a couple spots. And so the first night, I watched a ton of videos. Hours and hours and hours of videos from other YouTube channels, but also you can find some scientific, just kind of dry, boring scientific breakdowns of how ick works, what the life cycle is, the things that affect it. I did all the research that I could do and decided on, well, how about I just tell you the methodology I came up with for deciding how to treat it. Because there are about 3 methods, and it's kind of like if you get the common cold. There are different, if you get a cold, or let's say you have flu-like symptoms, you can do chicken soup and vitamins and fluids and rest and try to just get over it. Let your immune system heal you. And that can work. But if the symptoms get worse, then you need medical attention. So it's the same thing. There are natural treatments that have been proven to work, but they don't always work for treating ick. And then there are types of medicines. There are less harmful medicines that might be less effective, and then there are your nuclear bomb type of medicines. So I'm going to tell you my thought process of how I handled this ick and how I will handle it if I get it again. So step 1 for me, and I talked to a lot of people. After watching videos, I talked to 3 different local fish store owners. Those store owners treat ick all the time. They get fish in with it and they have to deal with it. And here's what I came up with. If the fish is active and energetic and eating, then it's currently a mild case. And that's been the case with mine. The fish that came home with the ick was a Yawaru cichlid. Pretty good sized for this aquarium. 3 or 4 inches long and thick-bodied, tall. And that fish has been happy and healthy and eating this entire time. So that led me to take a little bit more of a slow approach to try to treat it naturally. So let's go over natural treatment. There are 2 things that can help you deal with ick without medication. Number 1 is heat in the water. Most strains of ick die at like 86.6 degrees, but that can actually vary by the strain. So if you turn your water temperature up to 84 to 87 range, that can kill ick. Or it can speed up the life cycle of ick so much that it can't latch onto the fish. So just to summarize real quick, the life cycle of ick your fish has an ick. It burrows under the scales, causes an infection, turns white, and you see it. And then, after 24 to 48 hours, it falls off the fish, lands in the substrate, multiplies, reproduces, comes back into the water column and attaches to that fish or another fish. Well, the time that it's on the fish, nothing can treat that. It's burrowed under the fish's scales or skin, and you can't treat it. But while it's in the water column, that's when you can treat it. So if you increase the temperature, you speed up that reproduction cycle. It doesn't stay on the fish as long, and it can't survive in the water as long. So once that ick is in the water, it has to get onto a fish. And if you shorten and you speed up its life cycle, then it has less chance to infect your fish. So that's step one, heat up your water. And now the other caveat on that is if you have fish that can't handle the temperature, then you can't use the heat method. So if your fish are from a high temperature area and they can handle that high temperature water, you can turn up the heat. And mine are all able to handle that heat, so I used heat. The next thing is salt. All of the fish that I have can handle salt in their water, actually quite a bit. I mainly have cichlids and polypterus, and I've got a couple of species of plecostomus that I almost forgot were in here. But all of those can handle salt in the water. So I added salt to my water. And there are plenty of websites that describe how much salt to use. I raised mine to a salinity of 1.002. And that's like very low brackish. And that should be just enough salt to kill the parasite without killing the fish. And I used that method on day 2. So day 1, I just researched all day. I didn't do anything for the fish except for order some medicine and wait for it to come in. On day 2, I turned up the heat and the salt. On day 3, I'm still waiting on this medicine to come in, and I'm watching the fish, and I saw the number of white spots double. Now that doesn't mean that that what I'm doing isn't working, because of the life cycle. Those parasites could already be on the fish and have already infected them before I started salting and heating the water. But not only did I see more spots on the waru, but I started to see spots on one of my severums. I said, right now, I'm seeing it get worse. Day 4, the spots were worse and worse. And I said, I believe that this method should work from everything I've read, everyone I've talked to. But what I'm seeing is not a positive result. Now, as I talk about this and my strategy on it, if at any point these fish had got lethargic or started puffing and sucking for air up at the top, I would have went straight to a more effective medicine. But I wanted to give the natural treatment a chance. So on day 4, the ick is spreading. And I got my shipment of Ick-X from Aquarium Co-op. Now, Ick-X is a fairly mild medicine that does not dye everything in your aquarium nearly as bad. And it's not, harmful to your fish. It's kind of a natural, lower intensity medicine for ick. And Corey from Aquarium Co-op really recommends it, and so does my local fish store. So to treat with this, you add 1 millimeter for every 2 gallons of water. So I added 110 milliliters of this medicine to the tank. It turned the water blue for about 2 hours, and then it cleared back up. The fish have shown no difference in activity level. I even have snails in here. They are not bothered by it. The plecostomus are not bothered by it. The autocinclus are not bothered by it. Nothing in here has been affected negatively by having the medicine. My plants are not dying. They're not dyed green. My wood is not dyed. Everything's been perfectly fine. So you put your first treatment in, wait 24 hours, do a 25 to 30% water change, treat again. Wait 24 hours, do the water change, treat again. You do that for 4 days. I am 3 days in. Tomorrow I'll treat one more time, but all of the ick is gone. The best store in my area. The owner is fantastic, and he gave me a great description that I'll kind of repeat what I've already said. The way he treats it is, if the fish only has a few spots and they're acting normally, he treats with salt and heat. If the fish gets worse, he goes to Ick-X. But if a fish either starts off in really bad shape or is just completely covered, then he goes to the more aggressive medications like the copper. But copper can be harmful to other things in your aquarium, and there are multiple different ick medicines, but he says in most cases Ick-X is all he uses. Corey from Aquarium Co-op only uses Ick-X. So I can happily report that it's worked here for me. It's been 6 days since I added the fish with the spots on it. Everything in here is completely free of ick. Swimming, happy, healthy, no detrimental effects. So I can definitely recommend Ick-X to anyone watching. So I'm really relieved that my aquarium's not going to crash and these beautiful fish that are in here are going to make it through. Tomorrow I'm picking up a monster of a showpiece fish for this, but I'll tell you about that in another video. I appreciate you taking time to watch this video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.